Hi there, my name's Ken Irvine and I'm the Education Coordinator at Guelph Museums, and I'd like to tell you about a national fair that was held annually in Guelph for almost 40 years. It was called the Guelph Provincial Winter Fair, and what better time to talk about a winter fair than in the middle of winter. In the years after Guelph's founding, farmers markets and agricultural fairs were a big part of Guelph's commercial and social life. In the year 1827, John Galt had an open-sided market house built just back here to provide for the new residents. He hoped Guelph would become an attractive location for farming and agriculture. Beginning in the year 1828, Guelph had two annual one-day cattle fairs, which drew both district farmers and buyers from the larger markets. The success of the cattle fairs led to the creation of monthly fairs. In 1856, a new market house was built to accommodate the region's agriculturalists. With the railway coming to Guelph in the same year, many local farmers focused their production on cash crops and were able to sell their produce in larger markets. This generated a stronger local economy. In 1874, an addition was added to the old City Hall, the building way back there, with the upstairs used for concerts and the downstairs for an expanded market area. Also this year, the Ontario Agricultural College was established, which helped to solidify Guelph's agricultural reputation. At this time, the Ontario Provincial Winter Fair was held annually to showcase the best the province's agricultural production had to offer. It also showcased exhibitions from fairs in the United States and across Canada. The fair's location rotated between Toronto, Guelph, and Woodstock. A farm animal breeding group in Guelph known as the Fat Stock Club wanted a permanent location to hold their sales and shows. They held their shows at Exhibition Park, the drill shed, which is behind City Hall, and the fairgrounds, which is where the current armory now stands. With their excellent breeding stock, Guelph became known as the Smithfield of Canada. We're now inside Guelph City Hall. In the early 1890s, the Guelph Fat Stock Club, the city, and the surrounding communities convinced the Agricultural and Arts Association that the Provincial Winter Fair's permanent location should be in Guelph. With support from the province's key breeding associations and the Provincial Minister of Agriculture, Guelph was given the honour to host the first permanent Ontario Provincial Winter Fair, also known as the Guelph Winter Fair. In the summer of 1900, a 40,000 square foot structure was built within walking distance of the train station, hotels, downtown shopping and restaurants. The modern fair building housed a judging ring, lecture hall, killing room, poultry elevator, and facilities to exhibit animals. There were actually tunnels that ran under the railway tracks to connect to the main buildings for the fairground, in which large and small farm animals were exhibited. Some of these buildings are now used for the current Guelph Farmers Market. The fair was held in early December in order to not conflict with the Chicago or Toronto fairs. In the days leading up to the fair, hundreds of trainloads of stock worth hundreds of thousands of dollars were carefully housed and groomed, ready to be exhibited. In the year 1900, the very first year of the show, it was known as a huge success. At this time, the majority of the population of Ontario lived on farms or in small rural communities, and an agricultural fair was a very important aspect for many people's lives. Hundreds of people from Canada and the United States traveled to Guelph to attend the agricultural fair, and special rail excursions were booked and hotel rooms were filled to capacity. People in Guelph were asked to rent out spare rooms in their homes to house some of the fair exhibitors. In 1914, 11,000 people attended the four-day fair in just one day. Over 29,000 people came in total. The Guelph Mercury's headline stated the fair was bigger and better than ever, and it claimed that to be Canada's greatest stock show. The entire city became involved in the fair, with children getting the day off school and banks opening special offices to expedite all the financial transactions taking place from the sale of various stock. In 1918, there were over 7,000 entries in the poultry show. This included ducks, geese, turkeys, and pigeons, and even more. The fair was becoming so large that patrons complained that larger facilities needed to be built. In 1918, City Council was approached about the need to expand and upgrade the fair. Well, politicians argued over the potential costs which could be up to $1 million. But some improvements were made at a cost of between $20,000 and $30,000. On the eve of the Great Depression, the Mercury's headline stated in 1929 that the fair was the outstanding show of the year. The fair continued to be a significant event in Guelph and Ontario's social calendar until the year 1939, when Canada and Guelph turned much of its focus into the war. The fair was not held in 1939, as the Winter Fair buildings were used to accommodate soldiers stationed in Guelph. So right inside this building is where the soldiers were stationed. In 1945, after the war, city officials felt that the upgrades needed for the fair buildings were too much for the city to finance. As well, the Royal Winter Fair in Toronto had increased in popularity, and Guelph's fair could no longer compete with it. These reasons caused the Guelph Fair to sadly fade away. The fair was not revived, and in the year 1948, the fair buildings were partially demolished to make way for the Memorial Gardens, which is right where we're standing. The arena that was built here became Guelph's Centre for Hockey and Entertainment until it was torn down in the year 2000. While demolishing the arena, a wall from the Provincial Fair building was found to be mostly intact and was incorporated into the construction of Guelph's new City Hall. So that's what we see right behind me here. The early 20th century in Canada was a period of incredible growth, change, and disruption for both the city and the countryside. The Provincial Fair in Guelph provided a vehicle for rural communities to examine the changing nature of agriculture and the rising status of urban life. Decades after the demise of Guelph's Winter Fair, we have more recently witnessed the permanent cancellations of community fairs across the province. Are fairs an outdated notion of the past? What have we lost or gained by their discontinuation? Thanks for joining me and learning more about Guelph's huge agricultural fair.